The capture. The day the Krelnax came, Zara Patel was elbow-deep in the guts of a prototype fusion reactor. Alarms blared through the research facility, but she barely registered them at first, too focused on solving the power fluctuation issues that had been plaguing the project for weeks. It wasn't until her lab partner, Wei, burst through the door, face pale with terror, that Zara realized something was terribly wrong. "They're here," Wei gasped. "The aliens. They're real, and they're attacking." Zara's mind reeled. Aliens? It had to be a joke. But one look at Wei's face told her this was deadly serious. She rushed to the window, and her breath caught in her throat. The sky was filled with massive ships, dark and ominous against the blue expanse. Smaller craft swarmed from them like angry hornets, descending on the city below. "We need to get out of here," Zara said, grabbing Wei's arm. But it was already too late. A blinding flash of light filled the lab, and Zara felt a strange tingling sensation wash over her body. When her vision cleared, she found herself in a vast, dark chamber. The air was thick and humid, filled with strange, acrid scents. All around her, confused and terrified humans materialized. Scientists, office workers, families with young children. Tall, insectoid creatures moved among them, their exoskeletons gleaming in the dim light. The Krelnax. They towered over the humans, mandibles clicking as they communicated in a language of chirps and whistles. One approached Zara, its compound eyes gleaming as it scanned her with a handheld device. "Subject suitable for mineral extraction labor," it announced in stilted English. "Transport to Verdana." Before Zara could protest, another flash of light enveloped her. This time, when it faded, she found herself in a lush alien jungle. The air was even thicker here, almost oppressive in its humidity. Strange, bioluminescent plants cast an eerie glow over the landscape. In the distance, she could see the outline of massive structures, some kind of processing facility or labor camp. As the reality of her situation sank in, Zara felt a mixture of terror and determination wash over her. She was an engineer, a problem solver. Somehow, some way, she would find a means to escape this alien world and return home. But first, she needed to survive and learn everything she could about her captors. The next few days were a blur of confusion and hard labor. Zara and the other human captives were put to work in vast open-pit mines, extracting strange, glowing crystals from the planet's crust. The work was backbreaking, but it gave Zara a chance to observe the Krelnax and their technology up close. She noticed how the aliens relied heavily on energy fields for everything from containment to communication. Their tools and weapons all seemed to draw power from those strange crystals they were mining. Most importantly, she realized that for all their advancement, the Krelnax had blind spots. They underestimated human ingenuity and adaptability. As Zara hauled another load of crystals to the processing plant, she began to formulate the beginnings of a plan. It would be risky, perhaps even impossible. But as she looked up at the alien moons hanging in Verdana's sky, she knew she had to try. Humanity's future might depend on it. Life in captivity. Weeks turned into months, and Zara settled into a grim routine in the labor camp. Wake before dawn, work in the mines until dusk, then collapse into fitful sleep in the crowded barracks. The Krelnax were ruthlessly efficient in their management of the human workforce, using a combination of energy barriers and robotic drones to keep their captives in line. But Zara's mind never stopped working, even as her body ached from the endless toil. She watched, she listened, and she learned. Every scrap of information about Krelnax technology, every overheard conversation in their strange language, became another piece in the puzzle she was assembling. One day, while repairing a malfunctioning excavator, Zara made a crucial discovery. The crystal power sources the Krelnax used weren't just energy storage devices. They were also integral to their force field technology. If she could find a way to disrupt or overload those crystals, it might create a window of opportunity for escape. Zara began to take risks. volunteering for maintenance tasks that brought her into closer contact with Krellnak's tech. She started small, pocketing discarded crystal shards and studying them in secret. She even managed to befriend one of the alien overseers, a younger Krellnax named Vic Thorne, who seemed unusually curious about humans. "Why do you ask so many questions?" Vic Thorne chittered one day as Zara repaired a force field generator. Zara shrugged, trying to appear nonchalant. "Humans are naturally curious. We like to understand how things work." Vic Thorne's antennae twitched in what Zara had come to recognize as amusement. "Curious, yes, but not very efficient. That is why you make good workers, but poor rulers." The comment stung, but Zara bit back her retort. She couldn't afford to antagonize her one potential source of inside information. Instead, she focused on her work, all while memorizing every detail of the generator's inner workings. As the days wore on, Zora's plan began to take shape. She identified weak points in the camp's security, mapped out potential escape routes through the dense jungle beyond the force fields. But she knew she couldn't do it alone. Carefully, discreetly, she began to sound out other prisoners, looking for those with useful skills or a burning desire for freedom. There was Maria, a former military engineer with knowledge of explosives; Jason, an botanist who had been studying the local flora and might know which plants were safe to eat; and Lai, a quiet teenager with an uncanny talent for mimicking Krellnak's vocalizations. Together, they formed the core of what Zara hoped would become a full-fledged resistance. Their first act of defiance was small but significant. Using scavenged materials and Zara's growing understanding of Krellnak's technology, they constructed a crude communicator. It wasn't powerful enough to reach Earth, but it allowed them to contact other labor camps on Verdana. Soon, a network of information began to flow between the scattered human prisoners. But their activities didn't go unnoticed. Vic Thorne approached Zara one evening, his compound eyes unreadable. "You humans are up to something," he said quietly. "I don't know what, but the elders are becoming suspicious. Be careful, Zara. I would regret seeing you terminated." Zara's heart raced, but she kept her voice steady. "We're just trying to survive, Vic Thorne." "Same as always." The young Krellnak studied her for a long moment, then nodded. "Perhaps. But remember, some things are beyond survival. Some things are impossible." As Vic Thorne walked away, Zara allowed herself a small, grim smile. The Krellnaks were about to learn that for humans, nothing was truly impossible. That night, as the camp slept, Zara and her core team put the final touches on their escape plan. In just a few short days, they would make their bid for freedom. Success would mean a chance to turn the tide against their alien oppressors. Failure would mean certain death. As Zara lay on her hard bunk, staring up at the bioluminescent fungi that coated the barracks ceiling, she whispered a quiet prayer to whatever forces might be listening in this strange, hostile universe. "Give us strength," she murmured, "and give the Krellnaks hell." The Great Escape. The night of the escape arrived, dark and humid like every other on Verdana. But for Zara and her fellow conspirators, the air crackled with tension and possibility. They had one shot at this, and failure wasn't an option. As the moons rose, casting an eerie glow over the labor camp, Zara gave the signal. Maria set off a series of small explosions near the crystal processing plant, designed more for distraction than destruction. Alarms blared, and Krellnak's guards swarmed towards the commotion. In the chaos, Zara and a small group of humans slipped towards the force field perimeter. They carried makeshift packs filled with stolen supplies and crystal shards that Zara had painstakingly modified. As they approached the shimmering energy barrier, Zara's heart pounded. This was the moment of truth. She activated the modified crystals, and for a terrifying second, nothing happened. Then, with a crackle of energy, a small hole appeared in the force field. It wasn't big, and it wouldn't last long, but it was enough. "Go, go, go," Zara hissed. And one by one, The escapees slipped through the gap. Zara went last, diving through just as the hole began to close. She felt the energy field singe her clothes, but she was through. They were out. But freedom brought new dangers. The jungle loomed before them, alive with strange sounds and bioluminescent life. They had to move quickly before the Krellnax realized they were gone, and launched a full-scale search. Jason took the lead, his knowledge of the local flora proving invaluable as he guided them through the treacherous undergrowth. They moved as silently as possible, every snapped twig or rustled leaf setting their nerves on edge. Behind them, they could hear the growing commotion from the camp as their absence was discovered. After what felt like hours of tense travel, they reached a small clearing. In the center stood a structure that made Zara gasp. It was clearly of Krellnax design, but old and overgrown with Verdana's relentless vegetation. An abandoned outpost, Zara whispered. This could be exactly what we need. They approached cautiously, wary of traps or hidden defenses, but the outpost seemed truly deserted, left behind by the Krellnax who knew how long ago. Inside, they found a treasure trove of alien technology, much of it still operational. Zara's mind raced with possibilities. With these resources, they might be able to do more than just hide. They could fight back. But before they could celebrate their good fortune, a familiar chittering sound froze them in their tracks. Vic Thorne stepped out of the shadows, his mandibles clicking rapidly. I knew you were planning something, Zara, the young Krellnax said. But this is beyond anything I imagined. Zara raised her makeshift weapon, a fusion of human ingenuity and scavenged alien tech. Are you here to stop us, Vic Thorne? To everyone's surprise, Vic Thorne's antennae drooped in what seemed like resignation. No, he said quietly. I'm here to join you. A stunned silence fell over the group. Zara's mind whirled with questions and suspicions. Could this be a trick? Or had their small act of defiance sparked something larger, even among the Krellnax themselves? As the gravity of their situation settled in, Zara realized that their escape was only the beginning. They had won their freedom, but the real battle, for Earth, for humanity, and perhaps for the future of the galaxy, was just beginning. With a mix of determination and trepidation, Zara turned to her ragtag group of humans and one alien defector. All right, she said, her voice steady despite her racing heart. Let's see what this outpost can tell us about taking down an empire. Unexpected allies. The abandoned Krellnax outpost became a hive of activity as Zara and her team worked tirelessly to understand and repurpose the alien technology. Vic Thorne's knowledge proved invaluable, filling in gaps in their understanding and providing crucial insights into Krellnax weaknesses. The elders have grown complacent, Vic Thorne explained one day as he helped Zara modify a communications array. They believe their technological superiority makes them invincible, but they've forgotten the power of adaptation, of thinking beyond established patterns. Zara nodded, her hands deep in a tangle of crystal-powered circuitry. That's humanity's greatest strength. We've had to adapt and innovate just to survive on Earth. Now we'll use those skills to win back our freedom. As days turned to weeks, their small group of escapees grew. Other humans, hearing whispers of a resistance forming in the jungle, made their own daring escapes from labor camps across Verdana. But humans weren't the only ones drawn to their cause. One evening, as Zara was testing a prototype disruptor designed to interfere with Krellnax force fields, a commotion erupted at the outpost's perimeter. She rushed outside, weapon at the ready, only to find herself face to face with a group of aliens she'd never seen before. They were roughly humanoid, with iridescent scales and large, luminous eyes. Their leader, a tall female with elaborate head crests, stepped forward and spoke in halting English. We are the Zarkai, she said. We too have suffered under Krellnax oppression. We come seeking alliance. Zora exchanged glances with Vic Thorne, who seemed as surprised as she was. I've heard legends of the Zarkai, the young Krellnax whispered. They were thought to be extinct, wiped out by my people centuries ago. The revelation that the Krell-Nax had a history of subjugating other species only strengthened Zora's resolve. She welcomed the Zarkai into their growing resistance, and soon other alien races began to trickle in. Each brought their own unique abilities and knowledge, turning their ragtag group into a true interstellar alliance. With their combined skills and the resources of the abandoned outpost, they began to launch daring raids against Krell-Nax operations on Verdana. They sabotaged mining equipment, freed more prisoners, and gathered crucial intelligence about the alien empire's structure and vulnerabilities. But their greatest breakthrough came when they managed to access the outpost's long-range communications array. After days of work, they established contact with a human resistance cell that had formed on one of Verdana's moons. The lunar resistance had incredible news. They had made contact with Earth. Humanity hadn't been idle in the months since the invasion. A unified global defense force had been formed, and plans for a counterattack were already in the works. All they needed was inside information on Krell-Nax defenses and weak points, exactly the kind of intelligence Zora's group had been gathering. As Zora coordinated with the lunar resistance and Earth's defenders, she felt a surge of hope stronger than anything she'd experienced since the invasion. They were no longer alone in their fight. The tide was about to turn, but the Krell-Nax weren't about to give up their conquered territories without a fight. As news of the growing resistance spread, the alien overseers on Verdana became increasingly brutal in their attempts to maintain control. Zora knew that a decisive battle was coming, one that would determine not just the fate of humanity, but of all the species that had suffered under Krell-Nax rule. As she looked around at the diverse group of allies they'd assembled, humans, Zarkai, even rebel Krell-Nax like Victhorn, Zora allowed herself a moment of pride. This was what humanity did best, bringing people together, finding common ground, and standing up against, turning the tide. The jungle of Verdana pulsed with nervous energy as Zora and her allies made their final preparations. Months of planning, sabotage, and small victories had led to this moment. Earth's united defense force was on its way, and the fate of not just humanity, but countless oppressed species across the galaxy hung in the balance. Zara stood at the heart of their makeshift command center, surrounded by a tapestry of alien faces. Vic Thorne chittered quietly as he made last-minute adjustments to their communication array. The Zarkai leader, now known to Zora as Lyra, studied a holographic map of Verdana's defenses with her luminous eyes narrowed in concentration. "The Krell-Nax still don't realize the full extent of our alliance," Zora said, addressing the assembled group. "That's our biggest advantage. When Earth's forces arrive, we need to hit them from all sides. Confusion and chaos. That's how we win this." A series of affirming clicks, whistles, and murmurs rippled through the crowd. Despite their differences, a shared purpose united them all. As the twin moons of Verdana rose, casting their eerie glow over the jungle canopy, the first signs of the impending battle appeared in the sky. Streaks of light, Earth ships entering the atmosphere, crisscrossed the star-filled expanse. Almost immediately, Krell-Nax defense systems roared to life, filling the air with energy blasts and the scream of alien engines. "That's our cue," Zora shouted. "Move out." Their ragtag army surged into action. Zarkai warriors, lithe and quick, darted through the underbrush towards Krell-Nax labor camps. Human tech experts, armed with repurposed alien weaponry, made for key communication hubs. And high above, rebels piloting stolen Krell-Nax skimmers joined the aerial battle, providing crucial support to Earth's forces. Zara led a small team towards the heart of the Krell-Nax command center. Their mission was perhaps the most crucial and dangerous of all. Armed with the disruptor technology she had perfected, they aimed to bring down the energy shields protecting the alien leaders. As they approached the imposing structure, alarms blared and squads of Krell-Nax soldiers poured out to meet them. But Zara and her team were ready. They activated personal shield generators, a fusion of human ingenuity and alien tech, and pushed forward. The battle was chaos incarnate. Energy weapons flashed, illuminating the night in stark bursts of color. The air filled with a cacophony of human shouts, alien screeches, and the thunder of explosions. Through it all, Zora's focus remained laser-sharp on their objective. They fought their way to the central shield generator, Vic Thorn providing crucial intelligence on Krellnak's security protocols. As they worked to override the system, a massive explosion rocked the compound. Zora looked up to see an Earth battleship, bearing scars from the orbital battle, descending through the clouds. "It's now or never," she yelled, making the final adjustments to her disruptor. With a silent prayer, she activated the device. For a heart-stopping moment, nothing happened. Then, with a sound like shattering glass amplified 1,000-fold, the energy shield surrounding the Krellnak's command center collapsed. The effect was immediate and devastating. Earth forces, coordinating with the ground resistance, poured into the breach. Krellnak's leaders, so long hidden behind their impenetrable defenses, found themselves suddenly vulnerable. As the battle raged around them, Zara's team pushed deeper into the compound. They fought their way to the central control room, where they found the Krellnak's elders in a state of panic. "Impossible," one of the elders chittered as Zara and her diverse team burst in. "How could mere humans and lesser species accomplish this?" Zara stepped forward, her makeshift weapon trained on the alien leaders. "You underestimated us," she said, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "All of us. You thought your technology made you invincible, but you forgot that true strength comes from unity, from diversity, from the will to fight for freedom." In that moment, as human soldiers and alien allies secured the room, Zara saw something she never expected in the compound eyes of the Krellnak's elders: fear and perhaps a glimmer of respect. The battle for Verdana raged for hours more, but the fall of the command center marked the beginning of the end for Krellnak's control. Similar uprisings, coordinated with Earth's counterattack, erupted across occupied worlds. The alien empire that had seemed unshakable just days before now crumbled in the face of united resistance. As the sun rose on a free Verdana, Zara stood with her unlikely family of humans and aliens, watching Earth ships landing in clearings hastily carved from the jungle. There was still much to be done. A galaxy's worth of healing and rebuilding lay ahead. But as she saw humans embracing Zarkai, watched Earth scientists excitedly exchanging ideas with former Krellnaks like Vic Thorn, she knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. Zara smiled, feeling the warmth of Verdana's alien sun on her face. Against all odds, humanity had not only survived, but had forged a new future, one of interstellar cooperation and shared strength. The stars, once a reminder of their captivity, now beckoned with the promise of endless possibilities.